Now we are going to see the secondary impression. For that we have the special tray fabricated, and now I am going to check with the patient's mouth, and the sulcus height should be 2 mm short of the patient's sulcus. So I am just readapting it over here and checking for the buccal frenum, for the labial frenum, and then for the buccal frenum, and for the overall reduction of 2 mm. This is for the maxillary arch. And now this is for the mandibular arch. We have the spacer and then we have the special tray. I am again readapting. I am checking for the sulcus depth. It should be 2 mm short and there shouldn't be any overextension in the tray. So we are just checking with this. Now we are going to proceed with the secondary impression. In this condition, like for the patient, the tray is perfect. But for example, if the flange is 2 mm short, that is like more or less, if it is going to be more, then we can just reduce it with the micromotor. We have to trim that particular area. And for example, if it is short, then we have to add extra with the self-cure material, and then only we have to proceed, because the low fusing compound will not have the strength to stand over there. So you have to add it with the self-cure, and then only you have to proceed with the procedure. Now I am going to show you the demonstration for the low fusing compound. So this is how we are going to heat the material. Okay, you have to uniformly heat the material. You should make sure that you don't show it in the particular region alone. Okay. So I am just adding it in the increment, in the buccal, in the labial frenum. So I am just holding it, securing the special tray in position, and then I am just pulling the lip outwards, downwards and inwards. So this is how we are going to record the labial frenum. So we should make sure that patient is in a relaxed position. Once the material is set, we can just remove and we can just check for the excess material. In this we have done the sectional bottom molding. You could see the excess material over here and also over here. What we tend to do is like we'll keep adding as an increment, and then we'll finish off the bottom molding. But we have to remove the excess material first. In the first segment, if there is excess material, you have to remove it, and then only you have to go to the next procedure. So this is how we will be removing the excess material over here. Now we have just finished with the labial segment, and then we have to go with the buccal and then distobuccal and then posterior. Now we are going to go into the next segment. So this is how we place the special tray. We have to position the tray properly. So you have to make it outside, downwards and inwards. Okay. So this is how we have to proceed with. And how we will differentiate the difference between the recorded bottom molding is the dull or dull surface will be the exact place where the tissue is impinging. If you have a glossy surface, then that means the tissue is not recorded in that area. Now I have done the bottom molding for the other side. As I told you, as we did in the right side, we are just doing the same for the left side. We have to pull the cheeks outside, downward and inward, and forward and backward movement. Once we have done, so we have recorded the both sides. Now we are going to go into the distobuccal flange on either side. So this is not in the operator's hand, it should be done by the patient. So you have to instruct the patient clearly. After adding the material, you have to ask the patient to open his mouth wide. Either open his mouth wide, or you can ask the patient to move his mandible right side and left side. Sir, unga keel thadaiya valathu pokkam eduthu pokkam thalunga. Right left innonala right side left side move pannunga. So you have to ask the patient to do this movement while we are recording the distobuccal flange. I have added the material in the distobuccal flange, and then I am just reseating the special tray. I'm asking the patient to open his mouth wide. So, and I'm asking the patient to move right and left side. Right side, left side. Right side, left side. So this is how it is getting recorded. As you saw, the operator didn't do any steps except the patient has to do to record the listobuccal flange. The same way we will do the other side also. Now we are going to record the posterior palatal seal area. For this we are just instructing the patient to give a short vigorous ha movement so that the anterior vibrating line will be recorded, and for the posterior vibrating line an exaggerated ha movement has to be given. And then we have to perform the Valsalva manual method. In this we will just hold the patient's nostril and ask him to blow through the nose heavily. And one more method is like we will just hold the special tray and ask the patient to bend down, that is below 30, that is like 30 degree of the Frankfurt horizontal line, so that the soft palate will descend down. Now I have added the material in the posterior palatal seal area. Can I I'm just placing it in the patient's mouth, and I am just bending the patient's mouth down, bending his head down, and then I am asking to say ha. Ha solunga sir. Ha. Alla sattama? Ha. Innu sattama? Ha. Innu sattama? Now we are going to see the Valsalva manual technique. I am just placing the special tray inside the mouth and then closing the patient's nostril. I am asking the patient to close his mouth and breathe heavily. This is how we record the posterior palatal seal area. And we are asking the patient to bend his head down. This is like 30 degree from the Frankfurt horizontal line, so that the soft palate will descend down and it will get recorded. Now we are going to see the mandibular border molding. In mandibular border molding, we will just record the lingual sulcus first. The lingual sulcus we will just divide it into three parts, that is the anterior, middle and posterior segments. In the anterior segment, first we will add the material and place it in the patient's mouth, and then we will ask the patient to protrude his tongue outside, and then we will ask him to keep his tip of the tongue in the incisive papilla. With this we will record the anterior segment. For the middle segment, we will ask the patient to wipe his upper lip from the right side to left side. With this we will record the middle segment. For the posterior segment, we will add the material and we will place it in the patient's mouth and ask him to swallow his saliva first, and then we will ask the patient to keep the tip of the tongue in the right and left buccal vestibule. With this we are recording the posterior most segment. Now we will see the anterior segment. So I have loaded the material. I am asking the patient to, I am just supporting the mandible and then asking the patient to protrude his tongue outside. So with this the anterior segment is over. Right. Now we are going to record the middle third of the lingual sulcus and just placing it in the patient's mouth and asking him to touch the lips from right side to left side. With this we are recording the middle third segment. Now I have added the posterior implement and I am placing it in the patient's mouth. I am asking the patient to swallow his saliva first. And then asking the patient to keep his lips in the right and left buccal vestibule. With this we are recording the posterior segment. Now we are going to record the listobuccal flange. I have added the material and I have positioned the tray in position, and then I am asking the patient to close his mouth while I am giving the downward movement. So why am I moving? With this I am recording the mesenteric notch and giving a downward movement, and I am asking the patient to close his mouth tightly. Now I have added the material in the labial and the buccal segment. I am just positioning the tray in the patient's mouth, and then I am giving the outward, upward and inward movement and forward and backward for the buccal segment, and then for the labial segment I am just holding the lips. I am just pulling it outside, up, outward, upward and inward movement for the labial segment. With this we are finishing the buccal and the labial side. The same way I am going to finish the other side. After finishing the border molding, we are proceeding with the secondary impression. For this we have removed the wax spacer in this region, and then we have given the relief holes in the mid-palatine raphe and in the incisive papilla. We will see the materials for the secondary impression. So this is the base and catalyst. This is the base and catalyst, which is zinc oxide and eugenol. And if you just see, there will be a covering over here. You have to remove the covering completely, since you have to take the equal amount of base and catalyst for dispensing. Make sure that the complete lid is removed. So now we are taking equal amount of base and catalyst. So it should be 4 inches each. Now I am taking the catalyst. It should be of equal amount. Now we are using the spatula and we are just mixing it. You have to take just 30 seconds to mix it, so you have to be very quick, and it should be little fast. Once you get a uniform mix, we have to collect the material and load it in the tray. So once you are applying it, you have to follow a roll-on technique like this and spread the material equally. So if you could see here, I have just extended 2 to 3 mm to the borders, and you should make sure that you remove the excess material from the posterior aspect, since the material will flow to the throat. Now I will show you how to do the loading in the patient's mouth. We have used a non-eugenol paste. Anyways, I have just applied the Vaseline over here. We have to just apply it only extra-orally. We should not apply intra-orally on the ridges. I am just rotating the tray and then getting inside, and I have to position the tray at the back and then at the front. Okay, so this is how you will position the tray. You have 30 seconds for manipulation. So first 30 seconds you have to hold the tray properly, and then you have to give the border movements. Okay, so starting with the labial side, the same way only you have to pull outward, downward and inward, and then for the buccal, outward, downward and inward, forward and backward. So and then we will ask the patient to bend down. Right, left move and then we are just going to proceed with the Valsalva maneuver. So with this question, we have to hold the tray for another 2 minutes. According to the description given in the manufacturer for the base and catalyst, we have to wait for 2 to 3 minutes. Now we were waiting for the material to set. Once the material is set, we have to just loosen the borders over here and then try to remove it. If the tray is not coming out, we have to just close the nostril, raise a wide and ask the patient to blow through. So the posterior palatal seal will break off and we will get the secondary impression. So your spacers should be your tray stopper should be exposed. So this is how it will look like. Now the same way I have just mixed the material and added in the tray. If you could see, I have just used the roll down technique and I have applied the material. I am pushing the tray into the patient's mouth, and we have to repeat all the secondary border molding techniques. So first we are starting with the lingual border. Okay. So now so this will be recording the anterior segment. Now this is the posterior segment. It should open. Eye moving. Eye thinking. Eye moving. Now I am recording the mesenteric notch. Eye thinking. Eye moving. Eye moving. Last one. I am recording the buccal aspect. So outward, upward, inward, forward and backward, and for the anterior, outward, upward, inward. I am just holding it and I am stabilizing the tray and I am supporting the mandible also. Face the eye. Not very good. Now the material is set, we have to relieve the borders and then gently remove from the patient's mouth. If you are having a retention, then we should ask the patient to lift his tongue, that's all. With this we have finished the secondary impression for the maxillary and mandibular arch. Now we have completed the border molding and secondary impression.